Hi everyone, today's flow is going to be super stretchy, flexibility focused. It's going to be a well-rounded practice to giving a stretch to our entire bodies, specifically our hamstrings, our legs, our hips, our spine, and our shoulders. Some of you may ask, what's the point of stretching except showing off in the splits? So I'm not going to bore you with the benefits, but it's actually hugely beneficial to our entire physical body, our heart health, our mental health, our sleep, our energy levels, our nervous system. And it also teaches us patience and concentration and endurance, and helps us feel and stay young. So grab a block, not necessary, but useful. And also a strap. You can use a belt or a t-shirt or a towel. We're going to begin lying down on our backs. Bring the soles of the feet together. Let the knees drop out wide so the outer edges of the feet are on the ground, and the weight of the legs is pulling your knees a little closer to the ground. Your arms can be out by your sides, palms facing up. Lift the chin a little to make space in the neck. We'll take a moment to check in here, to feel the weight of the body, and to really arrive onto your mat, into your yoga space. Bring one hand onto your belly and one hand on the heart. Let's take a couple deep breaths together. And close down the eyes if you haven't already. Flip of the gaze inwards. Inhale deep into the belly through the nose. Feel the belly expand. Hold it, and then see if you can inhale into the rib cage. Feel the rib cage expand and the belly go down. Open the mouth, exhale it all out. Again, inhale, feel the belly expand. Continue the inhale into the ribs and almost a lift in the collarbones. Open the mouth, move it through. One more time, inhale first deep into the belly, feel the belly expand. Then feel the ribs expand as your inhale travels upwards all the way to the collarbone. Hold it. Open the mouth to sigh it out. Flutter open the eyes. Bring your hands down by your side. And on an inhale, send your legs up. Any definition of straight that's available for you right now, pull the toes back towards you. So you're really strengthening in your lower abs. Press the heels towards the ceiling. This is a strong pose. Now, you're going to circle out the heels a little bit. Reverse the direction of the circles. And now extend your left leg out to the ground in front of you. Grab your strap and wrap it around the ball of your right foot. And now work on getting that right foot to straight. Both hands are kind of pulling on the strap. You're pressing that right heel towards the ceiling, but make sure that your left thigh and leg are still on the ground. Both hips are still on the ground. Finding a nice stretch in the whole back line of your right leg. Now keep the strap with your right hand and open up your left hand into a T. And slowly start to send your right leg to the right, feeling a nice stretch in the inner right thigh. Your leg probably won't come all the way to the ground. Both feet are flexed. Inhale, guide the leg back to center. You might need a bend in the knee. Exhale, switch hands. So left hand grabs the strap, right arm opens up into a T, and start to guide your leg over to the left. This is a big stretch for your outer right hip IT band. You can even play with bending and straightening into that leg a little bit. Really great for runners. I've been finding as much of a bend in the knee as you need to drop the leg all the way to the floor on the left side. For a supine twist, you can release the strap, open both arms wide, and now look over to your right. Keep the right shoulder on the ground and breathe into the twist. Inhale, bring the leg back to center, and we're going to switch legs. So right leg extends long, Left knee comes in. Wrap the strap around the ball of your left foot. Use both hands to pull the toes towards you, working on extending that left leg towards the ceiling, kicking the heel up. Once again, you might not come to straight with your leg. If you want to play with coming to straight, you can make the strap longer. Breathing into the sensation in the back line of the left leg. Grabbing the strap just with the left hand, open the right arm into a T, and open up the leg to the left. Nice stretch for the left inner thigh. Inhale, bring the leg back to center, switch hands. Right hand grabs the strap, left hand opens up into a T, and guide the leg over to the right. Might not be very far, but just until you feel sensation. Might even play with bending and straightening into that leg a little bit, feeling the IT band. And then letting go of the strap and letting the leg fall over to the right. Supine twist, both arms open into a T. And let your gaze fall over to your left, plugging the left shoulder into the ground. Inhale to release the twist. Hug both knees into the chest. Bring your hands on your outer thighs. And now we're going to send the hips up to create momentum, to roll up and down the spine a couple of times, only if this feels good, so that we can get into a seated position. Cross the legs, plant the hands, and meet me in a tabletop position. I'm going to warm into the spine a couple times, so wrists under shoulders, knees under hips, fingers wide. Inhale, open up the tailbone, collarbones engaged, cat-cow. Exhale, round through this back body. Back of the heart presses towards sky. Inhale, lift the tailbone, arch the spine, look up. Exhale, round through the back body. One more time. Inhale, really exaggerate these movements. Tailbone lifts, chin lifts. Exhale, round it out. Back of the ribs towards sky. Really press the floor away. Meet me in a neutral position. On your next inhale, reach your right leg back behind you. Flex the right toes and open up the heart slightly. Use the right glutes to send the leg higher. And exhale, bring the knee to nose and step your right foot between your hands. Low lunge. Inhale, reach the arms up. So here we want to feel a nice stretch in the front of our left hip. So we might need to slide the back knee back a little bit. Hips are heavy and forward. Inhale here. And exhale, straighten the front leg, send the hips back and reach your arms back into airplane wings as you flex the right toes towards your face. Your chest reaches over that extended leg, half split, Ardha Hanuman. We're going to go back and forth between these two poses a couple times. We'll come into more deep expressions of these poses later. So inhale, rebend into the front knee, arms sweep up, hips heavy. Exhale, straighten the front leg, front toes reach towards your face, fingers reach back behind you, palms face your body. One more time. Inhale, low lunge, rebend, look up, open up the heart. Exhale, re-straighten, send the hips back, toes towards your face, arms in airplane wings. Rebend into the front leg to plant the hands, frame the front foot, and inhale, send the leg back behind you as we started. This time, exhale, bring the right knee to the floor behind your left knee. So you might be on the side of your mat, that's totally fine. Now wing out the feet, so separate the feet a little bit further from each other. Start to walk your hands back so that eventually you're sitting your hips down on the floor between your feet or onto a block between your feet. This is cow face pose. So make sure your knees are stacked here and level. We're getting into our hips. We want to feel our sit bones heavy in the ground, a lift through the crown of the head, an opening in the chest, and breathe through the sensations in your hips. We're going to do a couple of shoulder stretches while we're here. So reach the arms out in front of you. We're going to come into eagle arms. So cross the right arm over the left, and then see if you can find the double clasp by bringing the palms together. Press the shoulders down and away from the ears, but at the same time, see if you can lift the elbows so that they're in line with the shoulders. You have a strong engagement in your lower core here. You might even find it heart opening as you send your arms higher. Feel the shoulder blades peeling away from each other. And exhale, release the arms, shake them out. One more arm stretch for this side. Reach your right arm up, and then bend your elbow so that your elbow is pointing towards the ceiling. Bring your right hand between your shoulder blades, and now reach your left hand behind you and see if you can find the clasp of the hands. Or here, if you can't reach the hands, you can use a strap. Feel a nice stretch in your right tricep. You might even press the head back against the right arm to deepen the stretch. Breathing into all the sensations happening in the body. And release the arms. We're going to do the other side when we do the other side with the legs. So plant the hands out in front of you, walk into your tabletop, unravel the right knee, and start to take some circles with the right knee, finding the full range of motion of the femur bone in the right hip socket. Reverse the direction of the circles and tabletop position. Straight away, inhale, reach your left leg up, flex the left toes, open up the heart, left glute, send left leg higher. Exhale, left knee into nose, step the foot through. Inhale, Anjaneyasana, hips come low and forward, arms sweep up overhead. Exhale, half split. Lean the torso forward, arms reach back, airplane wings as you straighten the front leg, pull the front toes towards your face. Inhale, rebend into the knee, low lunge, arms up, heart opens. Exhale, straighten out the front leg, arms to airplane wings, half split. One more time. Inhale, rebend, front knee, open up, linking breath with movement. Exhale, send the hips back, straighten the front leg, flex the front toes. Rebend into the front knee to plant the hands and kick back into your three-legged tabletop. Left leg lifted. And exhale, bring the left knee to the ground behind your right knee, crossing it over. Separate your feet so they're a little wider. Start to walk your hands back into our cow face pose. Your sit bones will find the ground or a block behind you between your feet. Straight into those shoulder stretches. So reach your arms out in front of you. This time, left elbow crosses over right. And see if you can find the double clasp, palms touching each other. Press the shoulders down and start pressing the elbows up. Look up at your palms. So your elbows are in line with your shoulders. Slight tuck in the tailbone. Super strong in the core as you might even find a heart opening here. Super deep stretch for the shoulder blades. Exhale, release. Shake out the hands. And now, reach the left arm up. Bend the left arm to point the left elbow to the ceiling and nestle your left hand in between the shoulder blades. And then your right fingers might find your left fingers or with a strap. Breathing here. And release. Maybe take some rolls with the shoulders. Plant the hands, start walking them forward into your tabletop. Unravel the left knee and take those circles with the left knee in to circle out the hip. Reverse the direction of the circles and meet me in a tabletop position. Tuck the toes and send your hips back into your first downward facing dog, straightening out the legs, pressing through the palms and reaching the tailbone towards the sky, reaching those heels towards the ground. Continue some movement here in the downward facing dog, pedaling out the feet, maybe moving the hips side to side, bending one knee and the other. Movement that feels good in the body, getting into the creaks and corners. And then start to walk your feet towards your hands into a forward fold with a generous bend in the knees at the front of the mat. Let go of the weight of the head. Let's flutter out the lips. Inhale through the nose. Exhale. One vertebrae at a time, start to come up, stacking the vertebrae. Head is the last to come up. Roll the shoulders back behind you. Tadasana, palms face forward, strong mountain pose. Warming up with a couple of sun salutations. Inhale, reach the arms up, palms together, look up at the thumbs. Exhale, hinge at the hips, fold forward over the legs, Uttanasana, close the front side of the body. Inhale, halfway, look up, torso parallel to the ground. Exhale, plant the hands and step back into plank position. Inhale here. Exhale, lower knees, chest and chin to the ground, buttocks in the air. Inhale, slide forward, low cobra, pelvis to the ground, point the toes, heart reaches forward. Exhale, tuck the toes, send the hips back, downward facing dog. Finding stillness in your down dog here. Roll the biceps out a little bit so the inner elbows are facing up. Feel the stretch in the back of the legs and the extension of the spine. Press through all finger pads and knuckle pads as you reach that heart towards the thighs. Bend your knees, arch your back, look between your hands, step or jump between your hands. Inhale, rebound, look up. Exhale, Uttanasana, fold. Inhale, root to rise, wide arms, come all the way up. Exhale, palms to heart center, Samastiti. Inhale, reach the arms up with everything. And exhale, as you fold forward, interlace the hands behind your back and let the arms be heavy as you drop the head. Stay here in your forward fold with arms clasped as you get into your hamstrings. You might still have a slight bend in the knees here. Pull the navel in towards the spine. Pull up the knees and quadriceps. Release the arms. We're going to come into an even deeper expression of this. Bend your knees as much as you need to bring the palms underneath the soles of the feet. So the tops of the hands are on the ground. Really release the entire weight of the head, neck, and shoulders. You might even use the toes to massage the wrist creases. Pull the elbows to the side to fold deeper. Release the hands from under the feet. Inhale, look up halfway, straight spine. Exhale, fold, plant the hands, your vinyasa. Step or jump back into chaturanga, elbows point back. Inhale, upward facing dog, tops of the toes on the ground, heart pushes forward. Exhale, roll over the toes, downward facing dog. On your next inhale, reach your right leg up, three-legged dog. And exhale, travel forward, bring your shoulders over wrists and bring your right knee to tap the right elbow. Inhale, kick back, three-legged dog. Exhale, right knee to nose, give it a tap. Inhale, kick back, three-legged dog. Exhale, right knee across to left elbow. Stay here and see if you can extend the right leg and bring the outer edge of the right foot on the ground. On your next inhale, reach the left arm up and plant the sole of your right foot flat. Fallen star. Bump the hips up, press out of the right hand. Inhale here, and exhale, gently deliver your hips to the ground. So now you're in a wide-legged pancake seat, probably facing the side/back of the mat. Either stay here, which is quite a intense stretch, even up, or you can start to exhale, fold forward over the legs. You might be on your hands, you might be on your forearms. If you're extremely stretchy, you might even start coming down onto the belly. Just one deep breath here. Make sure your toes are pointing up. Inhale, come back up. We're going to come out the way we came in. So plant the right hand behind the right hip. Inhale, fallen star. So send the hips up, come onto the outer edge of right foot, inner edge of left. Point the left arm up. Exhale, left hand comes down, come onto the ball of the back foot and kick the right leg back up, three-legged dog. Inhale here. Exhale, right knee to nose, make space to step your right foot through. Prepare for warrior one. So spin the back foot flat, 45 degrees angle. Inhale, strong through the legs, come up, warrior one. Both hips facing forward, ground through the outer edge of the back foot, shoulders away from the ears. Interlace the hands behind you. Inhale, open up the heart. Exhale, humble your warrior. So travel forward with the torso, until the right shoulder comes inside the right knee. Allow the head to drop. Allow the weight of the arms to fold you forward. Super deep compression in the right hip. Palms squeeze together. Super strong in the legs. From here, we're going to come into a lizard pose. So inhale to come up halfway. Plant the hands on the inside of the right foot. So you might need to heel toe your right foot to the right a little bit. And come onto the ball of the back foot. Now send your hips heavy and low and forward. And travel slightly forward with the crown of your head. Make sure your back leg is super straight, so bump that back thigh up. You can stay here if you want to deepen the pose. You can come onto one forearm and then the other. Keep the navel pulling in towards the spine, strong in your core here. The neck is a natural extension of the spine. Relax your jaw. You might even bring that back knee down if you prefer, untucking the back toes. Breathing into the sensations. Your gaze is at your third eye. All right, if you lower down onto your elbows, come back up onto your hands, and we're going to walk our hands to the left, straighten both legs, and end up in a wide-legged fold facing the side of the mat. Sink into the fold on an exhale. Make sure your feet are parallel to the edges of the mat. Your hands can be on the floor. Find a lift through the coccyx, lift through the knees and quads, press the feet into the ground, and waterfall your upper body forward. Inhale to come up halfway. We're going to come into a skandasana, deep side squat to the back of the mat. So walk your hands to the left as you deeply bend into the left knee and sit your hips back onto the left heel. Your hands are on the ground for support here. Keep your right leg straight, your right toes pointing up. So we're in a squatting position. Now, you might be on your left toes. You might be on your left heel. We're all built differently here. So either keep your hands down for support or bring your hands to heart center, pressing the left elbow into the inner left knee to open up the left hip. Sacrum is lengthening down to the ground as you lift in the crown of the head and find an opening across the chest and the collarbones. The right toes are flexed and pointing up, strong in your lower abdominals here. Now we're going to shift into a skandasana at the top of the mat, but try to keep the hips as low as possible. So you might keep your hands at heart center, playing with your balance, or you'll bring your hands to ground and walk your hands. Slowly start to bend into the right knee, keeping the hips low as you straighten into the left and bring your hips to sit on your right heel. Once again, you might be balancing on your right toes or bringing your right heel to the ground. If your hands are at heart center, remember you're using that right elbow to press into the right knee to open up the right hip. Your left toes are pointing up, wide across the chest. Engage your bandhas, Mula Bandha and Uddiyana Bandha, finding a kind of suction, a stomach lift, and a squeeze in your perineum. Now we're going to shift back to the front of the mat. Frame your front foot, come onto the ball of the back foot, step back into plank, and lower down, chaturanga or knees, chest, chin. Finish the exhale here. Inhale, open up the heart, take your time in your vinyasa. Exhale, roll over the toes, downward facing dog. Let's take a lion's breath. Inhale through the nose. Exhale, stick out the tongue. Inhale, reach your left leg up, three-legged dog. Exhale, left knee to tap left elbow, shoulders over wrists. Inhale, left leg up. Exhale, left knee to nose, press the floor away. Inhale, left leg up. Exhale, give it a twist. Left knee to right elbow. Step your left foot through. Bring the outer edge of your left foot to the ground. Inhale, open up your right arm to the ceiling, stepping your back foot flat. Bump the hips up, fallen star. And exhale, gently lower your hips down to the ground. So we're in our wide-legged seat, facing the side/back of the mat. Toes facing up, either stay here or fold forward over the legs. Hinging at the hips. Breathing into the inner thighs. Inhale to come back up, out the way we came in. Press your left hand to the ground behind your left hip. Come onto the outer edge of left foot, inner edge of right. Inhale, send the hips up, send the right hand up. Fallen star. Exhale, plant the right hand to the front of the mat. Come onto the ball of the back foot and kick your left leg back, three-legged dog. Inhale here. Exhale, knee to nose, step your foot through. Bring your back heel down. Inhale, come up, warrior one. Tuck in the tailbone. Super strong in your legs. Knit your lower ribs in. Now we're going to come into our humble warrior. Interlace your hands behind your back. Inhale, open up the heart. Super strong back leg. Exhale, travel forward. Left shoulder comes to the inside of the left knee as you drop the head and the arms. Super strong in the legs. Navel pulls in towards the spine here. Crown of the head reaches towards the ground. All right, inhale to come up halfway. Prepare for lizard. So bring your hands on the inside of the front foot as you heel toe the front foot to the left a little bit. Come onto the ball of the back foot and sink the hips low. Back leg is super straight, or you decide to bend the knee and bring the knee to the ground. Stay here or come onto forearms. Back heel reaches back, one long line from the back heel all the way to the crown of the head. Relax the muscles in your face. Breathing into the sensations. Core is strong. Come back onto hands if you lowered down. And we're going to walk our hands over to the right as you extend through both legs. Wide-legged fold on the other side. Take a moment to find the shape. And then inhale. Come up halfway, plant the hands, and start to walk the hands to the right, Skandasana, towards the back of the mat. So sit the hips onto the right heel. Left toes point up. Your hands are either on the ground for support or in prayer position, pressing the right elbow into the right knee. Pull the navel in towards spine, reach tall through the crown of the head. Chest is wide. All right, Skandasana on the other side of the mat, keeping the hips low. Hands can be on the ground for support. Hips as low as possible as we re-straighten into the right leg, bend into the left, and sit onto our left heel. Once you find the shape, breathe here. And then we move back to the front of the mat. Plant your hands, step back into plank, and lower down your vinyasa, either chaturanga or knees, chest, chin. Or simply meet me back in downward facing dog. Inhale upward. Exhale downward. Inhale, ripple forward into a plank, and we're going to lower down all the way onto our bellies on a count of 5. Sending your elbows back behind you so they graze the ribs. For 3, 2, and 1. Untuck the toes. Send your arms back behind you, palms facing your body. And on an inhale, we're going to come up with our entire body except for our belly button and pelvis. So coming up with the chest, reaching the legs back behind you, pointing through the toes. Legs are super straight and strong. Shoulder blades move together on the back. Crown of the head points up. Look forward, reach through those fingers, firing up in the back line of the body. Now either stay here or come down, or if you want a deep back bend at this point, bend into the knees and grab your ankles. Find a kick into your ankles if you found your ankles. Squeeze an invisible block in between the knees so that your knees don't splay out. Your feet are flexed. You're reaching your heart forward. You're squeezing the glutes. You're feeling a nice stretch in your shoulders as well. Bow pose for 3, 2. Every inhale, an opportunity to reach higher. And one. Release everything to the ground. You might bring one palm in front of your face, the other palm on top. Create a cushion for your forehead. Relax. You might even move your hips side to side. Feel a release in your upper back, your lower back. Now we're simply going to plant the hands by the shoulders and sit the hips back into child's pose. Closing down the eyes. As we prepare for one more big flow before we start to cool things down. When you're ready, and only when you're ready, tuck the toes, send the hips back, downward facing dog. Inhale, reach the right leg up, three-legged dog. Exhale, step your right foot through between your hands. Bring the back knee down, and we're back in our Anjaneyasana low lunge. This time, no need to swing our arms up. You can bring your hands onto the front knee. We're going to sit into this shape a little bit. Untuck the back toes. You should feel a deep stretch in the front of your left hip. If you don't, slide the back knee back a little. Make sure your front knee is tractioning over the toes, but not going past them. And sit your hips heavy and down. You might even find a little bit of a bounce. If you feel sharp pain, back out. To deepen the quad stretch, you can bring your left hand to the ground, cartwheel your right hand around, and see if you can grab a hold of your back foot. If you have it, pull the foot into the glutes while still keeping your hips low. If you don't have it, good time to use your strap to find the foot and pull it in, opening up through that right shoulder. If you want to go further, you can even use the strength of the core to come up and grab the foot with both hands. You can even come into mermaid stretch if you like. So nestling the foot inside the left elbow, pointing the left hand towards the ceiling. Reach the right arm towards the ceiling, and then bend the right arm back behind you and grab your fingers. Chest points forward. Any variation that you have, release it. And then we're going to come into a deeper expression of our half split. So release your back toes to the ground. Start to walk your hands back as you find your half split stretch. You might need blocks for under your hands here to bring the floor towards you. Now in our half Hanuman, we want our hips to be squared. So reach your right hip back and your left hip forward. So we're hinging from the hips, leading with the chest as we fold forward over our front leg. Our front toes are flexed back towards our face. We want that front leg to be straight, so really push the thigh down towards the ground. A lot of sensation happening here. Breathe into it, relax the jaw. You can stay in your half split, or if full splits is in your practice, you can slide your front heel forward into any depth of your split that feels right for you today. You might find a block and bring it underneath your right hip to fill that space. The block can be different levels as well, so you might have it on the higher level or lower level, whatever space is left between your right hip and the ground. In our splits, also, we want our hips to be relatively squared, so try to think about pulling that right hip back and left hip forward a little bit. And a slight engagement in the core, navel pulling in towards the spine. Flex the front toes. If you slid into your full split, we'll meet back in a half split, planting the hands and sliding your front heel back. Once you're in half split, rebend so that we're in our low lunge. Now we're going to come into high lunge from here. So tuck your back toes, get strong into the legs, and come up into high crescent lunge by straightening the back leg and reaching the arms up. Strong in your core, tuck in your tailbone. Super straight back leg, bump the back thigh up. You're on your back tippy toes. Shoulders away from the ears. From here, we're going to come into pyramid pose. So straighten the front leg, bring your hands onto your hips, and plant the back foot onto the ground and step it forward a little bit. So it's at a 45-degree angle and you're sort of shortening your stance a little bit. Now, use the hands on the hips To square the hips to the front of the mat. So right hip back, left hip forward. Get really grippy with your feet, strong in your legs. Your hands can stay on your hips, or the full pose is bringing your hands into reverse prayer behind the back. We're going to travel forward on an inhale with your torso so that it comes parallel to the ground. Micro bending in that front leg, super strong in the back leg, pulling right hip back, left hip forward. Once you're here, make sure you're really straight in the spine. Avoid rounding the spine. And then you can fold forward over the front leg. Imagine scissoring your inner thighs together and energetically pulling the feet towards each other a little bit. You might even release the arms at this point. You can bring them onto blocks or onto the floor beside your front foot. Deep hamstring stretch. Chin travels towards the shin. From here, we're going to kick into a standing split. So bend into your front leg so that you can place your hands in front of your front foot. So your hands might also still be on blocks here, which is great. And then get weighty in your front foot and kick your left leg up as high as possible, straightening through both legs, standing split. Your torso travels towards your front leg. Use the left glute to pull the left leg higher and keep the left leg straight, pressing through the ball of that lifted foot. Micro bend in your standing leg still. Use every inhale to find space in your chest and lengthen your spine. And every exhale to fold a little deeper, heart towards thigh and toes higher. Make sure you're grounding through all four corners of your standing foot. You might stay here. You might even play with bringing one hand off the ground, grabbing your ankle, or even balancing. One point of focus for your gaze, both hands off the ground, grabbing your ankle with both hands, reaching your arms out into airplane wings. Plant your hands back on the ground if you lifted them, and everybody on an exhale, bend through both knees and deliver your left shin to the ground, to the right of your right foot. And we're going to sit our hips back onto the ground behind us or onto a block. Tall through the spine. Deep supine twist. Inhale, reach the left arm up. And exhale, twist to the right. Right hand comes behind you and left elbow hooks on right knee. Inhale to extend through the crown of the head, find a little bit taller in the spine, and exhale to twist a little bit deeper, pressing elbow into knee. Make sure both sit bones are on the ground. Pull the navel in towards the spine. Shoulders are away from the ears. Inhale to release, exhale to derotate. From here, we're going to transition into a pigeon stretch. So allow yourself to kind of fall onto your left hip as you lift the right toes and swing your right leg all the way behind you. You might use the hands here for help. As you make sure that your back leg is pointing straight back behind you, your front shin is relatively parallel to the front of the mat, but there might be more of an angle there, so your front heel might be closer to your right hip. Now, you might want to use a block here to fill the space between your left hip and the ground, like this. We want our hips to be relatively square to the front of the mat. Inhale to open up the heart. Exhale to sink into your pigeon pose. So you might come onto hands, you might come onto forearms, you might sink all the way onto the belly. But whatever depth you've found in your shape, it's useful to have your forehead on a block. So you can really release the weight of the neck, the head. No gripping here. And sending oxygen, sending exhales to the juicy spots, the points at which you feel sensation, likely in the left hip. Every exhale being an opportunity to release any gripping, to soften into the hip. Your breath is your anchor into your body and into the present moment. And when you're ready, start to come back onto your hands. Walk your hands back. Tuck your back toes, and then we're simply going to send our left leg back into a three-legged dog and give our left leg a shake. Shake it out. Shake it, shake it, shake it. Bend the left knee to open up the hip. Either stay here or flip into your wild thing. Lowering your left toes to the ground behind you. Left arm reaches to the front of the mat and curling open your hips and chest and heart. Curling your head back. Right leg is straight. Feeling playful. Enjoying the heart opening. And squeezing the glutes. And exhale, downward facing dog. Left hand down, left foot down. Finding your down dog. Same stretchy sequence on the other side before we cool things down pretty quickly. Inhale, reach the left leg up. Exhale, left knee to nose, step the foot through. Bring the back knee down. Come up with the torso, Anjaneyasana. Make sure your hips are low, pressing forward and down. Breathing into the sensation in the front right hip. If we want to deepen the quad stretch, you can bring your right hand down, cartwheel your left arm around to grab the back foot with your hand or with a strap, and then pulling the foot in towards the glutes, but keeping your hips pushing forward, opening up that left shoulder. If this is easy for you, you can even come up with the torso, engage through the core, grab the foot with both hands. Pulling the foot in towards your right hip. You might even nestle the foot inside of your right elbow. Point your right hand to the ceiling. Reach your right arm to the ceiling and then clasp in the hands. You can even use a strap for this if you're feeling ambitious. Whatever variation you found, release the back foot if you grabbed it. Bring your hands to the ground. Start to walk them back as you extend your left leg. Pull your left toes towards your face. Half split. Left hip back, right hip forward. Super straight, extended leg. Press the thigh towards the ground. Pull the toes towards your face to get that stretch in your Achilles tendon. And remember, keep your lower back as flat as possible, hinging with the hips, leading with the chest, sinking into the fold. If you found splits on the first side, slide your left heel forward, your back knee back. Once again, you might find a block to come underneath your left hip. If you slid into full splits, plant the hands and start to slide the left heel back. Come into half split. And then everybody rebend into the left leg, back into our low lunge. We're going to come into our high lunge, so tuck the back toes. Strong through the core and legs. Inhale, come up. Straighten the back leg and straighten the arms up ahead of you. Tuck in the tailbone. Reach through the back heel. Deeper bend in the front leg. High crescent lunge. Finding the position. Shoulders relaxing down. Now straighten the front leg. We're going to come into our pyramid pose. Hands on hips. Step your back foot flat and closer to your front foot. So shortening the stance. Getting super strong into your legs. Using your hands on your hips once again to square your hips to the front of the mat. Hands can stay on hips or they can come into reverse prayer. As you inhale, hinge over the front leg, reaching your heart forward, left hip back, right hip forward, micro bending the front knee. Neck is a natural extension of the spine. Pull the navel in towards the spine. And exhale, fold over the front leg. Chin reaches towards shin. Once again, your hands might find the floor or blocks on either side of the front foot here. Scissoring your inner thighs towards each other and energetically pulling the feet towards each other. Standing split, bending into the front knee to bring the hands out in front of your foot. Your hands might be on the floor or blocks. And then inhale to kick your right leg back and towards the ceiling. As you fold over your standing leg, right glutes fire up to pull the leg higher. Both legs are straight, even though you have a micro bend in the front, in the standing leg, to protect the joint space. Heart reaches towards the standing leg. You might walk your hands back towards the standing foot. Inhaling to lengthen through the spine, exhaling to fold a little deeper. If you played with balance on the other side, you might lift one hand, grab the heel, lift the other. Woo! And everybody on an exhale, bend through both knees and deliver your right shin to the floor outside your front foot. Walk your hands back and sit your hips back onto the ground behind you or onto a block. Make sure both sit bones are on the ground. Reach tall through the crown. Inhale, reach your right arm up. Exhale, twist to the left. Right elbow hooks on left knee. Left hand behind you. Resting here in the twist. Inhale, reach through the crown. Exhale, twist a little deeper. Wrapping the lungs around the heart. A really good detox pose. Inhale to release the twist. Exhale to derotate. We're going to take that funky transition towards pigeon here. So lift the left toes off the ground. To windmill your left leg around all the way to the back of the mat. And now plant your hands to make sure that your front shin is as close as possible to parallel to the front of the mat. Probably won't be really. And then your left leg is pointing straight back, knee in line with hip, in line with ankle. You might bring a block for underneath your right hip. Inhale to open up the heart and exhale to fold into your pigeon shape. Forehead rests on the floor or a block or your hands or something. Inhale, let. Exhale, go. And you feel even on this side. Come back onto your hands gently. Tuck the back toes. Inhale, send your left leg behind, your right leg behind you into a three-legged down dog with your right leg lifted and give your leg a shake. Shake it out, shake it out. Inhale, bend the knee to open up the hip. Either stay here, trying to stack the right hip on top of the left, or flip your dog into wild thing, stepping your right toes behind you, right arm reaches, and bump your heart and your hips to the sky, curling your head behind you. And everybody exhale, meet me in a downward facing dog. Right hand down, right foot down. Gently bring your knees to the ground so we're in a tabletop position. From here we're going to come into hero's pose. So bring your knees together and separate your feet a little bit wider. Start to walk your hands back. We're going to have our sit bones sitting back on the floor in between our feet or on a block. And getting tall through the spine once you arrive. So the tops of the feet are on the ground. You're feeling all the sensations happening in the hips. Engage once again your bandhas. Squeeze your perineum, pull the navel in towards your spine, wide across the collarbones, while melting the shoulder blades down the back, pressing the tops of the feet into the ground. Enjoy it. We did a lot of opening in the hips, and this is more of a closing, a very different hip stretch, so it should feel nice. I like bringing my hands to the bottoms of my feet here to feel more grounded, finding a bit of a press. If this is easy for you, you want to go further, you might walk your hands back behind you. You might come onto forearms. Find a slight tuck in the tailbone. You might even come all the way onto the back. But listening to your body here, if you feel any sharp pain in the lower back, come out. If you lower it onto the back, find a tuck in the tailbone to deepen the stretch. Letting body know that we're starting to cool things down. Sometimes when the pace of the practice slows down, it can be daunting. We find our mind travels more easily. So stay with the breath. Stay in the body. And really study the body. What's going on? What are all the subtle sensations? What's the energy like moving through the body? All right, lift your head. If you moved down, first come back onto forearms, and then back onto your hands, making your way back up. Plant your hands out and walk your hands out in front of you. Back into your tabletop. Move your hips side to side. Find a release. We're going to walk the hands back so that we're standing on our knees, on our shins. Tuck the toes. We're going to come into a back bend here. So bring your hands to your lower back, fingers pointing down. Engage your inner thighs. Squeeze the glutes. Start to press the hips forward as you roll the shoulders down the back. Open up the heart towards the sky. Your head might curl back. Keep pressing the hips forward, engaging in the glutes. Press the breastbone towards the sky. Your hands might find your heels here. Straight arms. If they do, you can really release the weight of the head back. Enjoy the opening in the throat and in the heart. Squeeze the glutes to protect the lower back. Camel pose. If you lower down, first bring your hands back to the lower back. Engage in the core, engage in the glutes to come all the way back up. Now sit back onto your heels, but keep the toes tucked so that you're having a nice stretch for the toes and the bottom of the feet. Feel all 10 toes tucked onto the ground. It might be uncomfortable, but sit with it for a little longer. Let's come into some wrist stretches. Interlace your hands and roll out the wrists. We've been on our wrists a lot. Give them some love. Reverse the direction of the circles. Now we're going to plant the hands, come back into tabletop, and tap the tops of the feet onto the ground. I'm going to come into a frog stretch, which is a bit of a weird one. Stay in your tabletop, but you might actually want to switch the direction and face the side of the mat so there's more space for your knees to get wide. Now, from tabletop, wrists under shoulders, knees under hips, we're going to start walking the knees wider and wider and wider, but making sure each time that your heels are in line with your knees, toes pointing to the sides, inner arches of the feet on the ground. And we want our hips to be in a horizontal line with our knees as well. So keep walking your knees out until you start to feel sensation. You're creating a kind of 90-degree angle there with your knee, and then your toes are pointing to the sides. Now, we're going to reach back slightly with our tailbone. Reach forward with the crown of the head. You might stay here. You might come onto forearms. Forearms is the way to go, I think. You might even move forward and back slightly with the hips. You can get into some sensation. If you don't feel anything, just walk the knees a little wider. And just breathing, sending exhales, sending oxygen to those sticky spots. You might even come onto your belly And rest the head onto something, the hands, like in our pigeon pose. And feeling the juicy sensations happening, likely a lot. Okay, coming out of frog, there's no elegant way to do it. If you're on your forearms, come back onto your hands. And you can either kind of drop the hips low onto the ground and come out that way, or simply walk very gently, walk your knees closer to each other again, which is what I'm going to do. Meet me in a seated position. Now, facing once again the front of your mat. Stand your legs out long. We did a wide-legged stretch. Now we're going to do a legs together stretch to counteract that. This is Dandasana. It's quite a strong pose already, having your legs out in front of you, feet flexed back towards you, thighs bumping towards the ground, straight legs. You need a strong engagement in the core to keep a straight spine here and a flat lower back. So this is a great place to be, where we can start folding forward over the legs. Reach your arms up tall and exhale to hinge from the hips like we do in our forward fold and lean over your legs. Hands land wherever they land, along the feet, the legs, the floor. Try to keep an opening in the chest here. Think more bringing the belly towards the thighs rather than the forehead to the shins. Keep pressing the heels out like on an invisible wall in front of you. Every exhale being an opportunity to find a bit more space. The more time we linger in these poses, the more space we might find. If you have your hands on your feet, bend the elbows and point them out wide. To deepen the stretch, if you do have the hands on the feet and you feel like you have more space, you can even bring a block and press it onto the balls of your feet and reach for the block there. This is great for reminding us to flex our feet. All right. If you have a block, release it. And come back up into a tall spine. You might need to scooch forward on your mat a little bit. We're going to be coming down onto our backs. Reach your arms forward. Use the strength of the core to come down one vertebrae at a time, massaging the vertebrae. Once the back of your head touches the ground, reach your arms up above it and take a deep stretch. Get taller than you have today. So you're kicking through the heels, reaching through the fingertips. And hug your knees into the chest. Give yourself a tight squeeze, a tight compression in the hips. Now plant the feet to the ground. Knees stay bent, hip width distance, the heels as close as possible to the glutes. Press through the heels, and on an inhale, lift your hips, lower back, middle back, upper back off the ground. You might interlace your hands underneath you, keeping your arms straight, rolling onto the fleshy part of the shoulders. Squeeze your glutes to send your hips higher. Press through the feet. Squeeze an invisible block in between your knees so that your knees don't splay out. Breathing deep into the belly, looking at the belly button. Release the hands and come down gently, one vertebrae at a time. So now you can either come back into bridge like we just did, or you can come into a supported bridge by bringing a block underneath your sacrum and just resting there. Or you can come into wheel with me. So bring your hands by your ears, fingers pointing towards your shoulders. Feet are as they were for bridge, hip width distance. And then on an inhale, pressing through your arms and legs, first come on to the top of the head maybe. So you can bring your elbows closer to each other. And then lifting the hips all the way up, extending the arms and legs into your wheel. Squeeze the glutes. Straighten the arms. Find space in your upper back and your shoulders and your neck. Knees come slightly towards each other. Sacrum travels towards your ribs. Your gaze is in between your hands. Press through the hands. You might work on shifting the weight so that your shoulders come over your hands. Your heart comes forward. away from your legs. Work on straightening the legs. And everybody exhale, come down gently, 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 listening to the body, one vertebrae at a time. Once you're down, step your feet wider than the mat and let your knees fall in towards each other. A windshield wiper your knees over to the right and then to the left. A couple times, releasing the hips. Bring your knees into the chest. We're going to find momentum to get into plow pose. So bring your hands by your sides, lift your hips, and send your legs back behind you. Now, your feet might not touch the floor behind you, which is totally fine. You can bring a block underneath your feet, or you can simply leave your legs as they are. But work on extending the legs if you find the feet to the ground into your plow pose. This is a really deep hamstring stretch. If you found the toes on the ground, make sure your legs are straight, so bump the thighs towards the ceiling. And then we want our hips to be right above our shoulders, so press your hips up. We're all going to use this position to come into our shoulder stand just for a moment. So bend your elbows, bring them as high up as possible on your back, so towards your shoulders. And then you might lift one leg and the other leg towards the sky. Walk your elbows in a little bit. Engagement throughout the entire body to keep it steady, to keep the hips over the shoulders, the feet over the hips, pressing through the balls of the feet. We're feeling all the blood rushing down. And then sending your legs back behind you again. Bring your hands to the floor, palms facing down so you can create breaks. And then slowly keeping your body in a little ball, using the strength of the core and the hands as breaks, lowering the spine down. Lower the legs down, point the toes, and come onto your forearms. Come into fish pose, the counter pose, puffing up the chest, puffing up the heart, and sending the head back behind you. Crown of the head reaches towards the ground. Might not come to touch. Enjoy the opening in your throat chakra, your self-expression. And in the heart, bumping the breastbone towards the sky. Press through the elbows to come back up. And exhale. Come back down. Final twists. Bring your knees into the chest and cross the right knee over the left. So this is kind of like cow face pose that we did sitting, but in a supine position. So bring your hands either to your shins or your ankles or the outer edges of your feet and pull your legs in towards you. So a nice final stretch for the hips, keeping the tailbone on the ground. Open your arms out into a T, and on an exhale, allow your legs to fall as they are to the left. You might find a double clasp with your feet actually wrapping the right toes around the left ankle. Looking over to your right shoulder stays rooted to the ground. Breathing into the twist. Inhale to come back up with the legs. Release the interlace of the legs and straight to the other side. So left knee crosses over right. Bring your hands to shins, ankles, or outer edges of the feet and pull the legs in towards you. Reclined cow face pose. Now release the arms, open them up into a T, and allow the legs to fall over as they are towards the right. You might even find the double clasp with the feet. And let the gaze fall over to the left. Left shoulder stays rooted to the ground. Inhale to release the twist, release the legs. Final pose, happy baby. Bring the hands in between the knees so that you can grab the outside edges of the feet. If you can't reach them, you can grab the ankles or the shins. And then find a kick into the feet. Imagine stamping the soles of your feet onto the ceiling. Your hands are pulling the feet so that you're pulling the knees in towards your armpits. Your shins are relatively perpendicular to the ground. Your tailbone stays rooted to the ground and your shoulders pull back. Now you might even roll from side to side like a happy baby. You might play with extending one leg and the other, or both. Release the feet, hug the knees into the chest one more time. Give yourself a tight squeeze. Inhale. And exhale, Savasana. Release the legs out long. Take up space. Arms out by your sides. Palms facing up. Your feet will splay out naturally. Your fingers will naturally curl into the center of the palms. You might even notice that your lips part as you relax. Make any adjustment necessary for you to feel really comfortable now and for you to be able to find stillness. And once you find stillness, really stay in that stillness. Breathe into it. Release any effort whatsoever, including effort to control the breath. Allow yourself to be fully supported by the earth beneath you. Nowhere in your body is holding up. Allow every exhale to be a relinquishing sensation, a letting go of any urge to think about getting up, to go on to what's next. Give yourself permission to be in the here and now of things. Start to deepen the breath. Come back into the body. Awaken the senses. What are the sounds? What's the space? But keep the eyes closed. What's the temperature? Find some movement in the fingers and toes. You might take another deep stretch, kicking through the heels, reaching through the fingertips. Hug the knees into the chest. Rolling onto a side. Pausing in your fetal position. Taking your time into the transition into a seat. See if you can keep your eyes closed to keep your quality of awareness with you as you move out into the world. Sitting tall in any comfortable sitting position, rounding through the sit bones. Palms might stay where they are or come together at heart center. Might bow your head in the direction of your heart. One last moment to feel the body. And to thank yourself for showing up for yourself. And I thank you for practicing with me. Namaste.